The Napoleonic period spanned roughly from around 1799 to 1815 and was one of the most significant and transformative periods in European history. It's mainly defined by the rise and fall of Napoleon Bonaparte, and this period witnessed massive, colossal military campaigns, shifting alliances, profound societal changes that left a mark on that we can see today. And it provided some events, countries to rise to powers, and individuals that became powerful or well known on the back of this period. And so in this video, we're just going to go a quick delve into those different aspects of that period, just to give a kind of flavour and overview of the Napoleonic period. So we saw the rise of Napoleon in this period, and this is pretty much what the Napoleonic period is named after, is Napoleon Bonaparte. He was a brilliant military strategist who rose to prominence during the French Revolution. And he seized power in a coup d'etat in 1799, and he established himself as the first consul, and he later was named Emperor of France in 1804. Napoleon was quite a charismatic character, a tactical genius, and he started off with artillery was where he started in his military career. But he had this ambitious vision, which basically set the stage for what would occur over the next 15 years, the Napoleonic Wars, and his vision to carve out a French empire. So under Napoleon's leadership, France embarked on a series of military campaigns that reshaped the political map of Europe. From his early victories at places like Austerlitz and Jena to conquests of vast territories such as Italy and the Low Countries and parts of Germany, Napoleon's Grand Army demonstrated unprecedented mobility and effectiveness. Napoleon's ambitions extended beyond continental Europe. The Peninsular Campaign, which saw the French clash with the British, Portuguese and the Spanish coalition on the Iberian Peninsula. This conflict is chronicled in book and TV series that most people will be familiar with. It's called Sharp. And various other medias have highlighted this particular campaign, because this is the campaign where Britain started to push back against the French. They'd had some victories prior to this, but this was basically the pushback in Europe by the British, and it was a mixture of normal conflict, battles, between the British and the French, but also guerrilla warfare being conducted by the Spanish guerrillas against the French military all across Spain, and that was quite a brutal aspect of that period. They were some French, some of the Spanish guerrillas were quite brutal in how they treated French soldiers, and eventually this would lead to the defeat of France. This campaign. Now, one other major campaign that Napoleon carried out, which a lot of people attribute to the start of his downfall, was the campaign in Russia. His ambition had reached its zenith at this point, and a lot of people say that the campaign in 1812 against Russia was ill-fated. Initially, they had some successes, but the weather turned to winter, and that's where the campaign faltered and turned into an absolute disaster. The retreat from Moscow marked a turning point in Napoleon's fortunes. the French army just couldn't cope with the Russian weather, and so they were battling two enemies. They were battling the Russian army and the weather at the same time, and they were ill-equipped for that Russian winter. And this really was the turning point in Napoleon's fortunes. This is the point where things start to go wrong for Napoleon. That disastrous campaign in Russia decimated a big chunk of his military power. And eventually, combining that with the campaign that was going on in the peninsula and the losses they were incurring there, it led to his abdication in 1814 and exile on the island of Elba. In 1815, Napoleon had one last throw of the dice. He escaped from Elba and triumphant returned to France, where he had a brief resurgence, which is known as the 100 Days campaign, and culminated in the Battle of Waterloo. His ambition was short-lived at this point, because it would lead to his eventual defeat at Waterloo by combined British and Prussian forces. That battle marked it was his final battle. He was defeated utterly and soundly by the coalition of British, Prussian, and other European nations. And I say other, they weren't there in their significance like the British and the Prussians were, but there were other Europeans there. And this time he was exiled again to the remote island of St. Helena, and he eventually died in 1821. But it was that period of, say, 15 to 20 years, from the point of the French Revolution up to 1815, marked a significant change in Europe. The Napoleonic era was quite influential and far-reaching. There was accelerated social and political change, from the spread of nationalism to the dismantling of feudal structures within Europe. A Napoleonic law code, such as the Napoleonic Code, laid the foundation for modern legal systems in places like France. The era's warfare and tactics and use of conscription and the troop manoeuvres, things like that, became templates for later conflicts and battles and such like, especially as a lot of once these European countries started to expand out of Europe into what we call the colonial period. They were still, a lot of those tactics that were learned during the Napoleonic period were then used in colonial warfare. But it was a period that also left a huge mark on things such as art, culture, and literature. It inspired the sort of art movements of Romanticism in paintings and literature. Napoleon's image of iconic bicorn hat and military attire became an endearing symbol of that period. And the Napoleonic period continues to captivate audience through various media forms, from historic novels such as those written by Bernard Cornwell, The Sharp, which was later turned into a TV series, things like War and Peace, and a pending future TV series that's due to come out called Napoleon, as well as lots of films around that period. So the Napoleonic period stands as a crucible moment, monumental events that shaped the trajectory of Europe and the world, from the meteoric rise of Napoleon to his dramatic downfall. This period remains a testament to the interplay of military might, strategic brilliance, and the enduring legacy of profound change. The Napoleonic period's legacy echoes through to today and continue to intrigue, inspire, captivate both historians and enthusiasts alike. And it is one of the more popular periods for wargamers, and it has been for a very long time. You go to any wargaming club and you can pretty much guarantee there'll be someone playing a Napoleonic game on any number of scales from 6 mil up to 20 mil. It really is a popular period with wargamers. And it is also a popular period for modern pop culture, such as films and television and books. So that's a quick overview of the period. We'll start looking at more aspects in more detail in future episodes. But apart from that, that's all. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.